let's imagine that you're in a restaurant setting as an environmental setting, and then taking place is you're with a group of friends and you yourself as an autistic person are sitting down for dinner at a restaurant, or even in a group therapy session, and yourself as an autistic feel tired and wiped out after having a busy day doing normal activity with your peers, as well as just being involved in yourself. But I'll take out example 1 right now for this to give you guys a better understanding to what I'm going to share with you today. During the course of dinner, shall we say that the waitress has been serving customers all day, as they do, making many visits to your table, especially asking everyday questions that they usually do. Questions like, how are you tonight? Would you like me to bring some ketchup or hot sauce? Is there anything else I can get you? Would you like more water? Do you want to see the dessert menu? Are the many few questions that the waitress would usually converse back to us to ask questions. To every one of those questions and perhaps others I don't remember, the autistic person will reply, I'm good. I'm good may make sense at first for the autistic person that is conversing to the waitress here, and is an okay answer for the others. Assuming that myself as the autistic person didn't actually want more water or dessert or needing anything else, except that I did want more water. I was just too tired to override the default script inside my brain that has settled in, and by the time they realize as ourselves as the autistic what had happened, the waitress will then disappear into the kitchen. Not a big deal, alright? Some other person could have come around and filled our water glasses, or just ourselves if there was one readily available on our table, but it still hasn't been touched. Assuming that I didn't actually want more water, basically. If they hadn't, the autistic person could have just told the waitress that was there present at that given moment of time that they may have changed their mind and would like some water. Hi all, my name is Aspie Answers, and I'm all about creating mental health and awareness and sharing my story with autism and mental health, taking you all on a journey, what life is like as an autistic, as well as advocating and educating you all about mental health and autism, along with fun and games along the way. So if you're into any of these videos and more that I share, feel free to smash that subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner of the screen and turn on the notification bell so don't miss any future videos, as I usually post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but again it may subject to change. Please be on the lookout on my social medias. So you may be wondering, what was all this about, Aspie, of what you just started with? Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about echolalia and scripting in the autism world, straddling the border of functional language, to give you guys a better understanding. So let's begin this. So the very first thing is the purpose of scripting. The purpose of scripting for many of us autistics is to share meaning. It has a social intent and expression of feelings and or experience from our own world of knowledge. The autistic kids or adults alike don't have yet the language in terms of content, ideas, knowledge about the world, grammar and structure as we know. It may be considered a problem with language comprehension to an extent. It may not be expected or considered appropriate from your guys' perspective of how we should be bringing out our communication or language or what have you. The definitions for scripting and echolalia, as I have shared echolalia in one of my videos, which I'll link in the iCard as well as in the description about this. But first and foremost, definition: scripting is the repetition of words, phrases, intonation, or sounds of the speech of others, sometimes that are taken from movies, books, etc. But also sometimes can come down to other favorite sources, as I said, maybe a favorite book that they have read or something else that has been said. People with autism spectrum disorders often display scripting in the process of learning to talk. Echolalia, however, as their definition is defined as the repetition of words, phrases, intonation of words or speech of others. Children and adults with autism often display echolalia in the process of learning to talk also. Immediate echolalia is the exact repetition of someone else's speech immediately or soon after the child or adult hears it. Delayed echolalia may occur several minutes, hours, days, or even weeks or years after the original speech has been heard. Echolalia is also sometimes referred to as movie talk because the child can remember and repeat chunks of speech like repeating a movie script. Echolalia was once thought to be non-functional but is now understood to often serve a communicative or regulatory purpose for the child. So you may be wondering also, why do autistic children and adults script? Reciting lines from movies, commercial books, etc. is a common occurrence among those with autism spectrum disorder. It is also termed scripting. It's unclear exactly why this is so popular in autistic adults and children alike. Some experts has predicted it is a coping mechanism that is used during high stress periods, hence a form of stimming. Others may believe it is just an attempt to communicate in some form, and this is the form they may know well and truly clear from. It doesn't require them to have to generate a response. However, they just repeat something they have heard and imprinted it into their memory bank, though it may be totally irrelevant to the conversation at hand that you may be having with. In some instances, I believe, to me, the question we might ask in some way relate to the topic of the movie, etc., and therefore will provoke the scripting. So again, as I shared with you all an example of how scripting can come about, and basically, could this be functional or dysfunctional is the question for the scripting. Functional language, as we know, generally refers to the language, pragmatic, or the social function of language. It isn't so much the opposite of non-functional as it was describing a specific class of language. More simply, language is functional if it helps complete interactions like inviting, greeting, requesting, demanding, clarifying, refusing, agreeing, offering, suggesting, informing, giving advice, apologizing, complaining. In the context of autism, functional and non-functional are also used in a more colloquial sense as well. Something is functional if it is accomplishing a desired goal, and non-functional if it doesn't seem to do the opposite effect. You'll often read that echolalia is non-functional or stimming is non-functional or routines are non-functional, right? I have talked about some of the beliefs of these in the past. Just because something appears to be non-functional to an observer doesn't mean that it is non-functional to the person that is actually doing. Sometimes, however, echolalia or scripted language can be non-functional, and I think it's important for us to learn to spot those times, either in ourselves or in our loved one. On the surface, however, my scripted and probably echolalia answers to say if I was the autistic person in that example that I just clearly illustrated earlier, and answering to the waitress were functional. She asked, I answered. She went away, may be thinking that we'd completed a series of successful exchanges of information. But for me, however, on the other hand, it can be a mixed bag. When the script lined up with my actual feelings, it was functional. It was also functional in the sense that it allowed me to reflectively pass in a situation that wasn't high stake. Not every social interaction that we have is important, but sometimes the goal is simply to answer the other person so they'll go about their business and leave you alone. The alternative that night, basically in that example, can be a repeated variation on this short yet uncomfortable exchange, like he'll say, excuse me, I would like a glass of iced tea, please. Waitress will come back at me, would you like sugar with this? Me, no, I'd like it, ... Me, can taste what I mean, but the word is nowhere to be found, so it might be missing in translation. And after this little uncomfortable conversation, and then me thinking, wow, cannot even purchase the word that is close or any word at all. The waitress will be there, maybe standing there waiting for your response, tapping away with their pen while they're waiting for you to give back their answer that you're looking for. And myself, clearly this flailing hand gesture is not coming what I mean is what my mouth stuck in this open position. Now will this silence go on forever? So therefore, basically, you're in a predicament with the autistic person in that restaurant, faltering with words, so on and so forth. Just unsweetened, and then myself as an answer, yes please. Scripting can grease the social wheels, and I think those of us who have trained ourselves to pass will often unconsciously default to scripting, or echolalia may simply to conceal the fact that we can't find the right word, or we even lost the thread of a conversation that we began with. After all, there's often subtle unspoken social pressures to keep a conversation going along. And in saying this, also another one I want to share with you all. I have felt this many times before when I'm scripting in my mind what I want to say and stuff. Sometimes many people look at me weirdly because I may be saying it loud, and it may not be appropriate in that time when I'm socializing with somebody or what have you, and then I get got that maybe, especially classic example when I've been practicing my script what to say inside my head over and over again. And sometimes many people need to stop prejudging that factor. Scripting becomes non-functional when an incorrect or inappropriate script is offered up automatically by a brain pressed to respond. When your peers that you are with has observed that you were scripting with the waitress, he's saying not with them. The waitress has other customers and her time at our table is limited, we gotta remember. Whether it's true or not, I feel like I need to come up with a snappy answer so she can move on and do her job. When I'm talking to my peers in my group, I know that they use to my pauses and edit. My scripts naturally switches themselves on and off. The interesting thing to the autistic person about the exchange with the extras was how automatic they felt. After they didn't get their water, I knew what I'd been doing all along. But still, I found it hard to stop. It was a bit like that moment of slow motion horror when you've dropped something and it hasn't hit the floor yet. On some level, I saw what was happening also, but it was simultaneously too late to do anything to stop it every single damn time. By recognizing the difference, automatic scripting can be harmless as what I've described here, or sometimes some scripting can be harmful, but you need to differentiate between the two. As what I've described here, it can be a serious impediment to my form of communication. Imagine if instead of a restaurant, I was in an emergency room, and instead of a waitress, I was talking to a doctor. Repeatedly scripting, I'm good, would be a non-functional and potentially dangerous form of communication. There's no hard and fast rule about whether scripting, echolalia, and other atypical types of speech are functional or not, however. A big part of the equation is situational. Scripting and echolalia can be functional if the speaker's words are aligned with what the speaker would like to express. If not, they may be non-functional. Scripting and echolalia can be functional if the speaker's words are coded in a form that their listener understands, even if the literal meaning of the words doesn't relate to the speaker's intended meaning. If the listener is familiar with the coded meaning, the words may be functional for the speaker but unusable on the listener's part when they're receiving the conversation. Scripting and echolalia can be functional if they allow for low stakes interaction or connection, even in the absence of providing actual information. Not all functional communication is transactional. When language is non-functional, it's often hard for the speaker to self-correct. In my experience, non-functional language doesn't happen by choice, but it is a kind of defense mechanism as the last-ditch effort to keep the lines of communication open in some way, even if it's unreliable and potentially harmful in a harmful way. It appears that you are with should have or would have learned to recognize when autistics are defaulting to a non-functional type of communication that may be counterproductive. They're increasingly becoming good at checking in with me. The simple act of pausing within a situation to say is ... what you mean, want, need, think can be enough to take me out of my scripted or echolalia speech. And that's a good thing, because obviously self-reassurance as well as you repeating back to what you think you've gathered of that information so far in our communication is good. Because too often my script isn't matching up with my feelings or needs in some given situations as well. So therefore, as I said, reassurance and also just reconversing back to what we've shared already is important. The autistic person is simply producing the as verbal responses to say, or at least appear to stay engaged with you at that given moment of time. Successful communication requires both a giver, which is the speaker, and the receiver words, the listener. When two people know each other well, they often have a lot of little in-jokes and code words that they can use, which are mostly meaningless to others. Echolalia and scripting with much in this very same way. If you have a family member who uses echolalia or scripted phrases to communicate, you may have the equivalent of a mental disorder that tells you that put on your shoes may mean the opposite. Let's go to the park and I want toast may mean I'm hungry. The two of you may find it fun to interact by repeating animal sounds, playing with nonsense words, or playing scenes from a favorite movie or TV show. Sometimes functional communication, however, is used to accomplish a task, and sometimes it's simply a way to say, I'm here, I see you, and I like spending time with you. My advice here is you mustn't try to do a word for word translation, but needed to feel the emotion behind the words and try to understand the context that way. Remember, being utterly confused on any other feeling emotion is only part of being a human, and suggestion here is but be in the now and today. Ask the autistic person who you're conversing to verify all of what has been shared before writing it down if need be. If they are of type that writes it down, she will affirm that you're understanding it correctly. In the past, myself, I would have gotten all tangled up in the specifics of what I'm saying, or even the other person is saying. I would have sought to reassure them about whatever it is. Now, understanding that these scripts can serve so much more in purpose for us autistics. Can serve another purpose. They are less about the words spoken and more about the emotions that are attached to them. They might reference something that happened more than 8 years ago but made them feel safe, or a specific time when they were really happy. I've always thought these memories were more than that. Memories that we enjoy voicing out loud but nothing more. But now, from what is typed or shared, I myself understand that there are much more than random memories. They are kind of a communication bridge for us autistics to share with the world. It's a way to communicate a whole series of feelings. The autistic adult child in their comfort zone seems like they don't want to be part of the world, but however, we do want to be a part of the world. However, this is not regression or lack of progress. In fact, perseverative and stereotypical behaviors are not bad. These behaviors help the autistic adult or child to regulate and function in a chaotic world around us. However, these behaviors may become habits and keep the child or adult isolated. These are potentially addictive for the child or adult and needs to be monitored. Joining in these behaviors help our engagement with the child or autistic adult. As our engagement with the adult or child increases, the perseverative and repetitive behaviors may naturally decrease. The more you think about the conversation you had, the more you feel that you are understanding them more better as a person. These scripts are like flashbacks in a movie. They give us a tremendous amount of information and are symbolic of so much. So this quickly ends Echolalia scripting. Hopefully you liked this. Smash the like if you did. Comment below if you do this, and maybe a few tips and advice here and there to the ones that are maybe autistic that are watching today. How would you go about sharing to others why you script and that, and maybe your reasoning behind the purpose of scripting and why we script as an autistic? And all further ado, guys, thanks for your support, thanks for watching. Don't forget me to share these videos, follow me on my social medias as well. And all further ado, guys, thanks for watching. Do what love what you do. Until next time, Aspie signing out, and I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.